Hello, everybody. Today, I'm gonna give y'all a second to come in before we get started. Because I might at least need some people to be in this class and stuff. Even though this is going to be recorded, I will get to putting my name on here though. That should be seeable. So yeah, I see there is one person here. Now, I'm gonna get started on this anyways, simply because I need to hurry this up. Can't be wasting any time because I already wasted enough time earlier. Now, for those who don't know, I am Dr. Lennon. Now, you guys might know that, like, you might have been informed that Dr. Dane was supposed to be here, which he's the partner researcher that I'm working with. I'm his assistant researcher. He's been having a little bit of issues with employees, so he's being questioned about that. So he doesn't have time in order to like teach you guys about basic knowledge to like level ones. So I'm pretty much covering for him until things probably get resolved, or I might have to be working with somebody else because the I don't want to get into it, but the stuff I hear that he's going through or whatever with like the other employees, it might not be good. But I'm gonna be covering for him for the week. So my name is Dr. Lennon. So I will be lecturing you guys about basic knowledge, like basic object class, basic cognito hazards. Not cognito hazards. I apologize. I mean hazards that you'll be using in the SCP Foundation. Basically, just simple terms that we use that mean certain things when it comes to the anomalous. And probably after that you can probably ask some questions such as like security or whatever. I can't give you everything about security because most of that stuff is classified to me because I'm just a researcher personnel. I'm not a combative personnel, so that stuff is classified to me. I don't have that information, but if I can answer your questions, then I will, as long as it's relating to something like basic information that I'm going to be teaching you on the board, then I will answer that question. Now, I'm going to use this. Let's move on to the object classes. So, object classes. Let's put that up on the board because I forgot to do that in my last class. Object classes. So object classes, let's say a new anomaly comes in a containment. So you would put like SCP dash and then the number that you're gonna be designating them with, right? And then maybe a nickname or whatever. We don't usually do that here, but a nickname is just something we would use instead of just using their designated numbers, right? But then they also are given a object class. Now, object classes basically define. Now, basically, what I'm going to start off with is that people get confused with the first one because they think that it means something harmless. So let me just explain it to you. So, safe class. So people might think that safe class means, oh, it's harmless, it's not going to kill you, or it's not going to do any harm to you. That is completely wrong. Now, that's what people get mixed up a lot because the name is safe, which I can understand. It's very understandable that it can be mixed up. But let me write that E a little bit better. I apologize. But basically, safe class doesn't mean that the anomalous is not going to hurt you or in any way, right? It means that it's easy to contain. So, like I explained in the last class, take for example, you have a box of balls, right? But each ball can do something harmful to you. So, in order to contain it, all you have to do is put a lid over it and then take it to containment. It's that simple. It can do something to you, but if you just do something simple as like putting a box around, even if it doesn't have a box, make something where you can just put it in and it's just easy to contain. Something that's just not hard to do. So I'm gonna put easy to contain. Now I will be honest with you. We it's like safe objects are probably like the second most anomalous we get. So because just of how easy they are to contain. Because sometimes they could be couches, they could be tubs, all that other stuff. We all know that if it's just like an object like that, then it's just gonna be easy to contain. Also, I apologize. I forgot to mention one of the things before I start on this, which I should have done. Now, when it comes to knowing anomalies, they can be humanoids, they can be I say entities, anomalies, uh, and objects. So humanoids, entities, or anomalies, and objects. So just like I was explaining to you about the box and the balls, that's an object, but it's like at the same time it's anomalous. So easy to contain. Continuing on. Euclid, which is the next one we're going to be talking about. Now, Euclid is a bit different. So the thing about Euclid is that it's containable. It can be a little bit hard to contain, but it's containable. So at least it's like the worries of containing it is almost just like safe, but it's just because see with safe you don't really need that much resources. You can just get a bag and contain the anomaly or something like that, depending on its size or whatever, right? But with like Euclid, it requires more resources in order to contain the anomaly. Take for example, SCP-173. SCP-173 is a statue that will only move if you don't make eye contact with it. If you don't, it will speed up to you and then kill you by snapping your neck or strangulation. So I'm going to put, let's just say, cautious containment. So cautious containment because it's like it can be easy, but you still got to be cautious about it. It still requires a little bit of resource, but it's going to be a little bit easy to contain. That's simple. Like take another example. The SCP that I mentioned just a few seconds ago, 173. The only way you could like contain him is like using something that stops him from moving, because what makes him what he is moving when you're making eye contact. I mean, when you're not making eye contact with him, right? So if you just put a cage around him, or like you just strap him onto something where it stays still, that's easy to contain. You know, still want to be cautious and make sure you keep your eyes open, but if you just get something where you just stop him from moving, then it's simple as that. Now, another example would be 096. He would be considered a Keter simply because of his XK class abilities. XK class is going to be something for another class once you get to that point. But I'm gonna just say that uh, 096 it's like it's a little bit difficult to contain. It's like just like with 173, you would have to be cautious and stuff, such as like with 173, you have to look at him, but with 096, you can't look at him because well, it depends on where you look at him. If you look at his feet or his torso or his dingling, then it's not going to be an issue. But if you look at his face, then that's where it's a problem because he will kill you. And it's like no matter where you are, he will kill you. He will always get you, and he will kill you. It depends. I'm not sure. We don't know about that, about like going to space and all that stuff because we never tried because resources. But as far as as long as we're stuck on Earth, he probably can't get us. I mean, that he could probably get us. I'm sorry, I'm mixing that up with the other thing. But yeah, as long as we're on Earth, he can get us wherever we are if we just look at his face. Now we're going to move on to Keter. Also, I really apologize for this eraser. I mean, not eraser, but this marker, man. It's working like an eraser because every time I keep writing, it just removes the other part of the mark or whatever you want to call it. So, Keter. Since I put in Keter, it's going to pretty much sum up like how some of these can, correlate to each other or something like that, right? Like basically what I'm trying to say is that Euclid is in the middle because it's like you want to use caution because it's like this thing would, like the anomalies that are considered Euclid, it will come up to you and then try to kill you sometimes and all that other stuff. But it's like it's near safe class because it's not all that difficult to contain. It's like you want to use caution with this, but it's not going to be that difficult to contain, just like with safe. Now with Keter is like Euclid in a way where it comes to like the anomalies that go up to you and kill you. I guess, but it's like most of the anomalies that are considered Keter, they're more tricky to contain instead of hard to contain. Because before I get to that, let me write this down. Now, hard to contain. So take, for example, SCP-682. Did I say 82? I apologize. 682. SCP-682 is a hard-to-destroy reptile, right? Now, what makes him hard to destroy is because, well, first off, he regenerates or he has like this fast healing factor or whatever, almost like some Wolverine or Deadpool stuff, right? That's basically what he can do. It's just like no matter how many times, like he could rebuild himself from an atom. As far as what I've heard, the stuff I read on the file, he rebuilds himself from like ashes. That's the best I've got. But people have rumored saying that it's that he's rebuilt himself from atoms. Now I'm not going to really take anybody's word for it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's possible because in this world there's always these anomalies, all that other stuff, and there shouldn't be no surprise. But yeah, he's a good example of that. Now we have other ones like SCP-1048, which are teddy bears. Now that should already be not self-explanatory, but it should be easy to understand why they would be considered Keter. Because you know how I was talking about Keter anomalies being tricky, and most of them being tricky. That's a good example because they're teddy bears. So if they were to go out in public, who would ever think that a teddy bear could be something vicious or whatever? So that's why they are considered Keter because of how tricky and how difficult they are to contain. Because again, not only are there like three of them, there are three. You have the one made of ears. You have the one made of scrap metal. You have the one with the infant arms. So I think there's actually four. The three are just made from the main one. Like we call SCP 10 48 A, B, or C. But it's like the ones without like the alphabet at the end of it is basically the main one. Does that make sense? So let's say, for example, SCP 1048, and he doesn't have a dash A, B, or C, then that's the original. But if they do have an dash A, B, or C, then that means that it's a uh like it could like another example. It could be like an SCP that makes clones, right? Or makes, let's say, emotion clones, right? Have you watched Demon Slayer, right? And you know Upper Moon 4. So he has the emotion demons. So the main I'm sorry, the main demon, the main Upper Moon 4 demon, he will be the main SCP, but with the other clones, they will have dash A, they'll have dash B, they'll have dash C, they'll have dash E, F, G, and so on, etc. Right? So that's an example. That's just a little bit of some information that I wasn't supposed to tell you, but I'm telling you that anyways. But yeah, Keter means hard to contain. Moving on to the next one. Thaumiel. I hope I spelled that right. Sometimes I be getting mixed up with the I's and the E's. But Thaumiel. Now you might think that Thaumiel could mean like extra dangerous, just like Keter. Now believe me, extra dangerous is saved on for later after I get the next two in. But Thaumiel doesn't, it's kind of like safe right here, but it means something else. Just like how safe doesn't mean that it's actually safe, it's just safe to contain. This doesn't mean, because even though it's a higher level than Keter, because you know Keter means that it's hard to contain anomalies, Thaumiel, it means something else. Basically what it is that you could have an anomaly and use that anomaly to contain another anomaly. Now I never really heard anybody do this, but take SCP Abel, right? Now I forgot his designation, but Abel is a good example of this, right? So Abel, if you were to use Abel to contain SCP-682, then that's a good example of Thaumiel. Thaumiel is to contain use an SCP to contain another SCP, and that is what I'm going to write down here. SCP used to contain another SCP. So, Thaumiel. Now, I see we got two people in. But back onto what I'm saying. The next one is neutralize. So I shouldn't really have to explain what neutralized means, but for the people who don't know, here's what it means. So let me write that down. Neutralized. So for people who watch movies, right? For people who watch movies, you always probably hear like soldiers saying, let me see this real quick. Sorry about that. But let's say you're watching a movie and you always hear the dude saying, threat neutralized, right? And that's always after the guy falls down. So neutralized basically just means that the SCP is either destroyed or dead, you know? Or it could mean it exists and you just never hear from it again, or all the other stuff. So I'm gonna put dead / destroy. So dead or destroyed SCP. So neutralized, dead or destroyed SCPs. Now, moving on to the next one. I hope y'all can see that good. Y'all can see that? Yeah, I think y'all can see that. I just gotta rely on the camera to focus on it. Now, moving on to the last one I'm gonna talk about. There's a whole lot of other SCP object classes, but this is the last one I'm gonna be talking about. Now, this is what I was referring to when I said that I said very dangerous earlier, and basically this is what I mean. Object class Apollyon. So slick name, but it's for a good reason. So I'm joking. It's not for a good reason. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm saying good reason, but I'm messing around. I should be focused on teaching the class. But Apollyon. Apollyon is like in SCP. Take for example, like gods or whatever that could end the world or something like that, right? They are world-ending SCPs. And now you remember when I think I mentioned XK earlier. So basically, I'm gonna write this down. World ending SCPs. Now, world ending SCPs. Now, it doesn't exactly have to be probably like world ending SCPs, but it could be something like just SCPs that are hard to contain. Let's see. Nobody's in here. But yeah, world ending SCPs, like that's very hard to contain, right? Because it's world ending and all that other stuff. So you could have and sometimes it doesn't have to be a harmful SCP. Again, just like what I was saying about Thaumiel and safe object class. Sometimes the anomaly could just be hard to contain because he could just be some little harmless gremlin that just likes messing with the Foundation and they just can't catch it and they're worried about that gremlin trying to expose itself to the world and then something anomalous gets out to the world, all the other good stuff. So that's just what it means. It's just impossible to contain. So actually, you know what? Let me rewrite this because I had a brain fart and put the wrong thing on there. Impossible to contain. Apollyon. Impossible to contain. So, we're all learning about these object classes. Now, I wish some people were in here so they can ask some questions. So, we all know safe means easy to contain. Doesn't mean that the SCP won't kill you. It's just easy to contain, so it's safe to contain. Euclid means cautious containment, which means it's just like with safe. It's just like it's not exactly hard to contain them, but you still want to use caution. Keter, hard to contain, just like Euclid. It's like one of those SCPs that will be sentient and come up to kill you. Except some of these have abilities that just makes it hard to contain. Thaumiel. SCPs used to contain another SCP. Just like with safe, it doesn't necessarily mean it's safe, but with this, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a higher level threat because if it's above Keter, doesn't mean it's a high level threat. It just means that SCPs used to contain other SCPs. Neutralize, self-explanatory, or should at least know this, but neutralize means dead or destroyed SCPs. And Apollyon means impossible to contain. So sometimes world-ending threats. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean world-ending threats. Sometimes it can mean just anomalies that are just hard to catch. And again, like the Foundation could be worried that that the anomaly could expose itself to the world. So if he's really tricky to the point where it's impossible to contain, then that could be a good example. So, is there any questions? I see one person's in here. So, you have a question before I move on? Any questions? And I'm gonna move out the way so you can see that, if you can see that. Because we got about like 20 seconds. So before I move on. All right, I'm gonna move on to the next one. Now, funny thing is like I'm getting uncomfortable in these classes because uh, Miss Haywood, she gave me her spare glasses because I lost mine. So it's just for spare. It's really uncomfortable to wear around the ears, but hey, I need my glasses because it's hard to see. But I'm gonna move on to the next one. So we are done with object classes. Now let's move on to hazards. So some of y'all might know, hazards because hazards is a common term. So knowing hazards is very important because in the SB Foundation, these terms mean a little bit. It can still mean the same thing, like in real life, but sometimes it's a little bit different here. Like these are something that you want to take more seriously because when you're dealing with anomalies, you know that this is something that you really have to take seriously. Since you guys are like level 1 now, this is something you want to know. So, cognitohazard. I hate this marker. So, cognitohazards, right? Let's see. So, cognitohazards. Basically, what it is that a cognitohazard means that it can affect your sense of smell, your sight, your hearing, and your touch. Basically, your five senses. So, wait, hold on. Eyes, ears, nose, touch. Basically, your senses, it affects it. So, pretty much, it's like it doesn't exactly have to harm you. It's like it depends on what the SCP is. Does it harm you? Because most of the time when we refer to cognitohazards, though, it could mean something like hallucinations or something like that, right? So if you were to get a cognitohazard, then you could hallucinate and think that your arms are on fire, or you can actually feel that your arms like are burning or whatever, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's on fire. It just means that you're hallucinating and you can actually feel the pain, but it's not actually there. Just like how uh, for example, you think you're walking on water, right? But you're not actually walking on water. You're just walking through the facility, just getting your cup, walking to the vending machine, and everybody think you're getting a cup of coffee, and they're just looking at you weird, thinking, "What's this man doing? Having to keep walking to the vending machine like that." That is a good example of a cognitohazard. So basically, cognito is sometimes, again, like I said, depending on the SCP, even though if it's not there, it could really harm you and it could possibly kill you. Even though if like the fire's not there, it could possibly kill you. So cognitohazard is a non anomalous effects on senses. So cognitor, I say cognitor. I meant to say cognito, anomalous effects on senses. Now, moving on to the next one, biohazard. Now, biohazard could be a little bit difficult to understand a little bit, but let me just keep it simple. Basically, biohazard is like anomalous effects on basically your biology, basically your flesh. Take, for example, I think it's SCP 610, or it's somewhere in the 600. Basically, it's the flesh that hates. As a matter of fact, in order for this class to really understand it, I'm gonna look and see in this file in order to be sure that it is basically confirmed. So yeah, I was right. SCP 610 is the flesh that hates. So the flesh that hates is considered a biohazard because it involves biology. So if you were to ever come across SCP-610, then you could feel anomalous effects affecting your body. You never know. Like take another example. Actually, no, I don't want to talk about that one because I don't think I'm allowed to talk about it. But I'm gonna just stick to this like 610 and just say they're a good example of biohazard. Now, so biohazard, anomalous effects on biology. Pretty simple. Now, moving on to the next one. What was it called? I'm sorry. I'm over here thinking now. Got cognitive hazard, biohazard. Let me see. Let me make sure and see what I need to talk about next. All right. So the next one I need to talk about is mimetic hazards. Now, mimetic hazards, or otherwise we sometimes call it memes. I know, pretty funny memes, but mimetic hazards. Mimetic hazards is kind of similar to cognito hazards. Only thing is that it spreads to other people. So pretty much mimetic hazards is like it affects the senses, but it's like it's contagious and it's like a virus. So if you were to be affected by it, and you never know, if you're near anybody, excuse me, if you're near anybody, then they can get infected too. So again, just and another thing, just like with cognito, it depends on the SCP if it's really harmful or not. So mimetic hazards is just something that spreads, and that's all I have to say about that part. So use. I'm gonna just say. I'm gonna just say it's virus. Virus of effects. So virus effects again spreads like a virus, spreads like a like it's contagious or something like that. And that's pretty much what it means. Now, moving on to the next one. Heck, now, what was the other one? Let me see here. Give me a second. So, cognito hazards, biohazards. Yeah. Now remember, info hazards. Now, some of you might get a good idea of what info hazards mean because it's info. That's probably one of the only hazards with a word in it that is something that you use probably in your daily conversation with somebody. Hey, I have information or something like that. So info hazards. Now, this is an example of why some of these terms are very like taken very seriously when it comes to the SCP Foundation, because you don't really hear info hazards that much. But see, info hazards is very specific to the anomalous, because if you were to know an anomaly, then again, depending on the SCP, it can do something to you. Like if you know about it, if you speak about it to like another person, not only will you be affected, but the other person will be affected. So if you knew about an SCP, you could have anything happen to you. You could have hallucinations. So basically, pretty much info hazards can do either something like mimetic or cognito hazards. So it can do something to you such as give you hallucinations, or it can deteriorate your body, make your bones decay, or it could just erase you from existence. That's just an example of what it could do. So that's what info hazards mean. Cursus marker. Anomalous effects on knowing the anomaly. So that's pretty much what it is. Anomalous effects on knowing the anomaly. Pretty plain and simple. And again, just like I said before, it can do this, and it can do that, and it can do that. Pretty much, info hazards can do pretty much all of this stuff. Just again, depending on the SCP, that's what it can do. So, this is all I have to do for now with this on hazards. That's pretty much all I have to teach because I have the next class or the next lecture to do. So I want to know if there's any questions to this one and only person in my live stream who is kind enough to actually watch. Any information that you need to know. At least what you've seen so far. You seem to be somebody who's like coming in and out and stuff every now and then. So is there anything you need to know or whatever? Because I have like 30 or like 1 minute left because I have to go do something. So just leave your question in and then I'll come look at it later in like 1 minute so I can at least answer your question. Because I gotta use the bathroom. Alrighty, I am back. So that is going to be all. Now, keep in mind, I'm gonna be doing. I'll be doing more of these classes. And I'm sorry if I stuttered a lot. I don't usually do classes, but as assistant researcher, and the situation that Dr. Dane is in, then I had to pretty much assist for him. And this was supposed to be his first class, but then he just had to have some issues with other personnel, and that's just starting to bug me. So it's pretty much what I have to do now. So I'm be doing this for the week, and in case if something were to happen, I'll probably be doing it for the whole month, or I might just be doing this for a while, like every now and then, because as assistant researcher, I'm still a researcher and I still have other works to do. So I'm just got irritated, but yeah, that's all I have for the class. Again, is there anybody who needs questions on what to know, like about the object classes? Does somebody want me to go over some of the classes again? Then I'll quickly explain it. Then I have to end the class or the lecture. I mean, all right, person left. That is all for the class today. Keep in mind, I'm going to be doing another class in probably a few hours. So if you want to come back to it just to volunteer and get just your memory to come up again about certain things so you can just remember, then just remember to come back in like a couple of hours because I got another class to do. And that's all I have to say. So, yeah. So I'll be seeing you guys later.